What is up, guys and girls, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back after the short intermission here. Game number 2 underway between Omega Gaming Unleashed and the Suicide Kings here. Obviously, game 1 definitely going in favour of Unleashed after what looked like a pretty tumultuous beginning. A couple solo kills in the top lane, and those solo kills traded back. The neutral objectives, though, they went in the favour of Unleashed, and they were able to secure game number 1 off the back of some nice neutral objective gameplay from Sir Malcolm and obviously the rest of the Unleashed team. I'm Rudude here, joined by It's a Meme You Dip on the casting desk tonight. And how are you feeling about going into game number 2 here?
I'm feeling pretty good. I feel, I think that it's one of those things that I think we said at the start of the last game that we would have been comfortable with both drafts, and so we could see a spicy run back here. Who knows what the drafts are going to look like? Because hey, you know what? Maybe if more of the neutral objectives have gone in favor of Suicide Kings, that could have been a different story. And so it was very back and forth game, and so I think that it could be very interesting. However, the Yone ban coming out, as we kind of talked about, Princeton's Yone is just too clean. You got to ban that out.
They definitely did, and it was really fundamental in the way that Unleashed were able to orchestrate their team fighting. They were able to roam around and pick the fights that they wanted using that Soul Unbound and the Fate Sealed, all of these beautiful mobility combos that the Yone has to really set up the rest of the Unleashed team for a lot of success here. Just so that you guys at home are aware, that blued out ban from Omega Gaming is going to be an Ashe, so no Ashe is available this time around. Don't believe that it was picked up in game number 1 either, just because this is a fairly identical run back of the bans here, apart from obviously that Yoni being taken away.
Yep, and our first pick for OMG will come in as Lilia, and that is obviously a huge priority pick right now. She's so strong in the meta. We watched a little bit last game of just how slippery she can be, but that sleep is so impactful on a team fight, and so it cannot go pretty much not picked or not banned at this point.
No, definitely not. Not at this sort of level where I'm expecting both junglers to have put the time in on Lilia and know the ins and outs and the specifics of the champion, what the strengths, what the weaknesses are. With that said, they're just insanely strong. Um, just insanely strong as a champion. So right there with you that I agree. This Lilia can't go unpicked or unbanned, and Sir Malcolm definitely a fan of the Lilia. Knows the clears, knows how to get around his jungle, get to that level 4 mark, and get the 24 CS pre Scuttle Crab. So we'll look towards that. But Suicide Kings here going for a definitely different look in the top side of the map with the Karthus and the Kled coming through.
Yep, and it actually looks like we will be going on a pause here for the draft potentially, as there seems to be some trouble on the side of Suicide Kings, and so we're just going to take a quick pause on the draft.
Okay, yeah, that's okay. We got a few issues with the Suicide King. I think that the some issues with fire alarms in one of the players. So obviously, to make sure that the integrity of the top laner is not compromised, we're quite happily gonna cut to a little intermission here where we'll keep you guys entertained with just our beautiful little voices. But the from what we're seeing here in the in-game chat is that the majority of the pro draft will be the same. They're just going to remake it, but they don't want the Kled, and obviously that Jarvan that you saw just at the end there will not be picked up either. So just a little bit here. We've got two jungle picks to talk about here. Um, and we've gone a lot into the Lilia. What are your thoughts here, Meme, on Karthus?
Karthus is actually a really interesting pick because Karthus is effective in the jungle. However, Karthus can be flexed to the mid lane. He is a very strong jungler. He does have a very, very fast clear, and that's something he's been really, really prominent of for the last little while. However, I have seen Karthus mid in the past as well, and just as a kind of farm up, and it really can add a little bit of extra pressure to every single lane, and that's really, really strong. And so I think it could be really effective. However, a Karthus into a Lilia, I gotta think that those Skittles have got to find different targets because I doubt you will be finding a Lilia with Karthus Skittles, right?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. That I like that you've opened up the option of the Karthus Flex because I also want to suggest Karthus in the bot lane, right? I mean, this
Mm,
pairing can go down, or rather, Karthus can be paired with a couple of supports. Typically, the more engaged focus supports, the things like the Thresh, like the Leona, maybe even like the Blitzcrank, something that can keep a target CC'd, and then make those Skittles pretty much impossible to miss if you have a set of working fingers and hands, obviously, to go with them. The ability to press Q on a CC'd target is something that Karthuses are always loving. So want to shout out the fact that it could swap to the bot lane, could swap to the mid lane, obviously, as you mentioned. And I like that you have alluded to the fact that the Lilia pick into the Karthus or rather, the Karthus pick into the Lilia isn't too favourable for the Karthus.
it can be if potentially if the Uli is low HP and you can just press R, you Karthus. But there is, the individual skill of if for whatever reason there was a Karthus Lilia 1v1, I think we know who would be winning that 1v1, right? Uh,
We'd like to think so.
Yeah, so there's definitely value from Karthus where you can just you can have that impact on every single lane, and that is something that's invaluable. However, we have seen the prominence of Lilia lately, and just the clear speed, the team fight potential, the just slipperiness of the champion overall. That's a strong pick, and obviously it's a huge priority here. Although I'm interested to see how this plays out with the Karthus.
Yeah, I really am as well. It's both two junglers that do incredibly well at farming early on, right? Like that is their niche and it's what they do so well. Typically, you want these AP junglers such as the Karthus, such as the Lilia, and even up to Evelynn and Echo to reach level 6 before they have those big game-changing ultimates. This isn't a Lee Sin where ganking level 3 will do you a ton of good, or Jarvan, Olaf, anything like that. This is one of those things where the scaling needs to happen fairly early on. And what happens when you get these scaling jungle picks is you need to draft winning lanes around them so that you have the opportunity to give your jungler some safe access to their own jungle. Because we saw it in game number 1, right, where the winning lanes of Suicide Kings were able to help the Lilia invade onto an Olaf. Take away the second red buff, take away some jungle camps from the Olaf, and with no priority in your lanes, that means that you're unable to support your jungler in that sense. So, whilst we can talk about these two jungle picks, it also opens us up to see what the rest of the draft should look like for both of these teams.
Exactly. And I'm really, really pleased to see the adaptation from Suicide Kings to ban the Yone. I think that's, after seeing that last game and just seeing how effective Princeton was on it. And you saw, fate sealed after fate sealed after fate sealed. He was finding these incredible team fights where it looked really, really, not good for Omega Gaming Unleashed. Uh, but he ended up turning these not ideal starts to team fights into amazing team fights for Omega Gaming, simply because he found those fate sealed and really changed the tide. And so I'm pleased to see that Suicide Kings respect that. They said, you know what, that was a really big problem. Um, and we are, choosing to eliminate that problem during this pick fan phase.
Exactly, it's perfect adaptation from a game 1 to a game 2. What I want to also address, talking about changes from game 1 to game 2, is obviously with that Yone ban that opens up the Senna, which was banned away by Suicide Kings in game number 1. And talking about winning lanes and lanes that give you priority, Senna doesn't typically fit that role too well, right? Senna, one of those more generically scale heavy AD carries, and when versing up against something like the Caitlyn, which we obviously saw Reeve play last game, and it's definitely a staple in the meta, the Caitlyn typically is going to have that favoured matchup. So it will be interesting to see whether or not adjustment elect for the Senna pickup in the bot lane here, or maybe even we see it in Vitcro's hands or something along those lines. But that ban coming through from, or that ban no longer coming through rather, from Suicide Kings, definitely something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, definitely a strong laner. I think particularly one of the strongest parts of her kit is the ability to go invisible and be untargetable. For a minute when you can escape those ganks bot lane. It's really strong in my opinion. Which obviously she has great scaling. She's got a really useful team fight ultimate. But to top that stuff off, to top off that the healing she's got in lane, that invisibility is so crucial to escaping a lot of high pressure situations, especially from auto attack based champions. And so really, very obviously strong in the meta right now. Very strong pick. Would not surprise me if they choose to do that. However, we will see potentially the Braum getting locked in here from Suicide Kings. They are hovering it right now, and it is locked in. That is the Braum selected to go alongside the Karthus there.
Yeah, so now we are back, obviously. Short intermission there. Everybody's okay, everybody's back, and everybody's ready to get back into the draft now. So we're right back at it, right back where we left off. Obviously, we saw that Kled get locked in the previous pro draft. Obviously, this time around, we know that it's not the case. Everybody's fire alarm has stopped going off, and everybody's ready to bring back the game and bring back the action here. Suicide Kings with the Braum, Omega Gaming Unleashed answering with the Soraka, and this really does lead me to believe that the Senna could be picked up here, because I don't know about you, but Senna Soraka is a obnoxious lane to say the least.
I hate that lane. I have strong distaste for that lane. It's just so much healing. You have to think like the Senna heals the Soraka, and the Soraka says, "Hey, thanks for doing that. I'll heal you right back." Right? It's just literally just a wave of healing. So you know what? Especially in high poke lanes, and even with a Karthus, like you think about what counters a Karthus, Soraka can ult right before a Karthus ults to deny a lot of his pressure. Right? So that's just a really strong pick. And the Olaf actually getting picked through here
Olaf
by Omega
is
Gaming.
Sivir, that is.
Okay, that's Sivir. Okay, I see that now. That is not an Olaf. That is a Sivir.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not the center that we predicted, but Sivir provides the same level of safety for me. I feel like the potential to spell shield, be it either the Requiem as we get later and later into the game, or even just the Winter's Bite or the Concussive Blows proc, whichever way around adjustment decides to go for that. The spell shield will be really useful in the team fighting stages. The Vayne picked up though is Answer by Suicide Kings. What do you think of that one?
I think Vayne has a lot of potential to pop off. Functions really well with Braum because you can get your auto attack reset with your tumble. So very strong to easily proc those concussive blows. I'm not sure how effective it will be. It's one of those feast or famine type of champions where you are either 1v9 or you are 9v1, right? You are
Yeah.
putting yourself in a bad situation and you are dying a lot and you are vein spotting, right? So I'm interested to see what type of vein we will see from Reeve here today. I'm really excited. I think I love these kind of, high intensity picks that have a lot of potential to pop off and carry the game. So I'm interested to see what he does with this.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those games or one of those champions similar to the Yone that we saw in game number one, right? Where we'll either pop off and carry the team fights or we'll just sort of sit awkwardly and not quite have the same level of effect that we're hoping for. And I like the Vayne pick into the Sivir matchup specifically, just because there's nothing really that the Sivir can easily, I'll say easily, carefully, spell shield. Obviously, the Condemn is spell shieldable, but it's all about timing and all about the reactions really from adjustment on this Sivir and that Lucian lock in.
Yeah, the Lucian lock-in does dictate that Karthus will be going to the jungle unless they're doing some cheeky Lucian top Huni style. But you never know. I assume Lucian's a pretty strong matchup into a lot of control mages, and so if they think, hey, you know what, they're going to pick a control mage here.
Oh,
Uh, but there's the hover. Is it going to happen? Is he going to lock it in? We saw brother number one. Will we see brother number two today?
I
And
mean,
I doubt it because I feel like there's not a whole lot of knock up on the team. But you know what? If he's gonna pick, he does pick it. Actually, it's so strong though. If you think about the potential of the win wall into two marksmen, that's actually not a bad pickup just solely for that reason. Although we saw his own last game, let's see his Yasuo this game, right? Let's see what he can do. Princeton coming in with another spicy pick in game number two.
yeah, they pick the Vayne from Suicide Kings, and then Princeton just goes, "I'll do you one better," and picks the Yasuo himself. The literal definition of the 0-10 power spike right here coming out for Omega Gaming. I mean, hopefully it doesn't reach that stage this game. Obviously, we want. I'm gonna say that we're wanting Unleashed here on the Omega Gaming broadcast, obviously to be the victors of this series here. But either way, we're gonna be providing a wonderful experience this game as the Shen gets locked in to go in the top lane. You talked about the Lucian being a good matchup into control mages, and well, that's just not what Princeton has picked.
Yeah. So just getting the extra security with Shen. Shen's also in a really good place right now. He's been someone who's been picked a lot in pro play, simply because he's always had that useful ultimate. But if his laning is garbage, he's kind of useless, right? But his laning's in a really good spot right now where he can toss it with the best of them, right? And so, especially into a Camille where you can counter a lot of her damage from the precision protocol. With your W there on Shen to negate auto attacks, actually not a bad matchup, and Shen can potentially pop off enough to have effectiveness not only in lane but across the map as well. And I think that's the name of the game for Suicide Kings is we have a lot of global pressure with the Shen Karthus, whereas we have I think quite a number of counter picks from the side of Omega Gaming.
Yeah, the global pressure that you mentioned is really something to note because Suicide Kings don't even need to be in the bot lane for them to have an impact, right? They can just teleport Shen down with the Stand United. Karthus can be farming his Raptors. Karthus can be farming the Rift Herald. Karthus can have just respawned after just ran it down and into the Nexus. As long as he's alive, he can press that ultimate, and he's then able to impact everywhere on the map. Should it be bot lane? Should it be mid lane? Should it be top lane? Wherever the play happens for Suicide Kings, this Karthus will be able to have an impact post level 6. It's so important that when Omega Gaming go for these plays, they keep these cooldowns in mind because they're big cooldowns, but they are just as impactful.
Yeah, definitely going to be looking towards the global plays from Suicide Kings this game. Really interested to see the Yasuo again this game because I feel like I said, like there's not a lot of knockups on the side of Omega Gaming. I'm not sure if Hookshot counts as a knockup when it stuns. I don't think it does. And so, if I'm not mistaken, then the only knockup they have is Yasuo's actual last breath itself. And so, I think that saying that getting ultimates off may be the tricky part, but I don't think that's why this was picked. The 1v1 potential against the Lucian, it is a counter matchup favoring the Yasuo, as well as the wind wall to deny not only Braum ultimate, Vayne auto attacks, Lucian auto attacks. It just makes it so strong to deny a lot of team fight potential from that side.
Yeah, and you talk about the wind wall blocking, and you point out maybe three or four things, and typically in a composition, those things, that number should be way higher for you to think that Yasuo has effectiveness here. But when we think about it holistically, that is the entirety of Vayne's damage in this instance. Lucian obviously you can block the piercing light as well, and I know that you know this as well. I'm not trying to say that you didn't, and the culling obviously, but the sheer amount of damage that is projectile based from Suicide Kings here, from these two marksmen, is just so gargantuan that should this wind wall be placed perfectly, this can definitely sway a team fight. It's one of those big 20-second cooldown abilities that, if used well, sways a team fight in the completely opposite direction.
Yep, looking forward to seeing compositions from both sides really showing their strengths and showing what they've got this game. However, it is, I think, for the most part, I think once again, most teams are going to be looking at these drafts and saying, okay, you know what, I'm okay with this draft. I think that draft has actually favored Omega Gaming just based off the counter picks that they've gotten. However, the pop off potential of the Vayne, we're really going to be seeing that. Karthus, also a very strong pick. Global pressure from the Shen as well. Definitely a great counter pick to the Camille. And so I think that both sides will be looking to play in accordance with their win conditions and looking to take another win here, potentially for Omega Gaming or their first win for Suicide Kings.
For sure. I mean, there's absolutely no doubt in what the Suicide Kings want to do here. Their composition scales so tremendously that if they make it to 30 minutes, team fights should just go in their favor, right? With the Vayne, with the Karthus, those two picks alone will win you a late game team fight. It feels like. So if we get to that stage and Unleashed haven't won the game, it's going to be on them to use this potential 1-3-1 composition that they've drafted for themselves. Princeton and Camille, rather, in the top lane, and the side lanes, rather, will be so useful. Be able to exert pressure and should be able to 1v1 anybody that sends them the challenge. Yes, Reeve on this Vayne is going to be, challenging the Camille and maybe challenging the Yasuo, but the power of these bruisers, of these assassin style champions here, when you compare them to the AD carries, is to take down things like the Vayne. So look later on, look to see if whether Unleashed have got themselves that advantage and got themselves the correct lane assignments, because if they don't, the 5v5 just doesn't look too great for them.
Yep. And definitely one thing to note here is they do have a Sivir with a Lilia. And so if you're looking for a strong engage, one of the classic Lilia combinations is run into the enemy team, press Q and stopwatch, right? Pressure sleep and stopwatch. So that way you can just get a really, really effective team fight off. And so you want to add some more movement speed to that. I don't think that's a bad idea with Sivir's on the hunt. I think that will make a fast Lilia even faster. And so I think there could be a lot of synergy there. However, we will see how this game plays out for both sides.
Exactly, and with that said, we'll cut it to our short intermission now, just before the spectator delay catches up with us. We'll cut it to a short break. Me and Meme will be right back after this break. We'll be bringing you game number 2 between Omega Gaming Unleashed and Suicide Kings.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to the LHGUL on the Omega Gaming Esports Twitch channel. I'm Rudude1, joined by It's a Me Mudip, bringing you game number 2 between Omega Gaming and the Suicide Kings here. Got some spicy picks here, Meme. What do you think?
I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be an interesting game from both sides. I think team comp wise, if you're looking at a straight 5-5 team fight, I think that Omega Gaming has the edge. However, maybe Suicide Kings looks to play it a little differently. They do have a lot of global pressure. They, like we've been talking about, they do have a lot of map control and a lot of potential 2v2 synergy between the Vayne Braum. That if they maybe catch out Vicro, could be lead to a great 2v2 for them. However, I think it's really interesting. And what I think is the most interesting is the synergy between our top and jungle on the side of Suicide Kings, dude. The infernal gamers, you love to see it.
Yeah, of course, the Karthus, the Shen combo coming through. Little things like that obviously have the most game impact, of course.
True.
You have to take into account as we get into the game here. Obviously, they want to show that off as they clear the red buff together, and Sextoy makes his way up into the top lane. The tactical sweep going to secure the first 3 minions of the lane for the Madman. So overall, just trading back and forth. And Princeton early on in this lane, before he reaches level 2, before he has that sweeping blade available, is going to be heavily punished, you'd feel like.
Yeah, and not only before level 2, but until he gets to level 3 when he has his wind wall available, he can't look to really effectively trade onto Alexander. Alexander will have the lane priority here for the first couple levels, and Princeton will just have to farm under tower, and that is just the nature of the beast. Sweeping Blade will help him CS a little bit under tower here without taking too much poke. However, he doesn't really have the threat, like I said, until level 3. You can see that trade going down, and Alexander really getting the best of him.
Yeah, press the attack and even the piercing lights through the minions here that are just poking down. Princeton is going to have to use his potion very early on. No Doran's shield rather to sustain himself from the damage. Princeton gonna be struggling here, but you know he's picked this matchup. He knew that he was going into illusion going in, so should be looking to be in a position to fight somewhat soon.
Yep, he's looking potential here, looking potentially for a fight in the upcoming lane. However, he's quite chunked out. Alexander's still having a biscuit as well, and so you can't look to trade too much because otherwise, you have to go back in lane. And so he'll look to safely farm up here, be a little bit of a farm deficit for the first few levels, and potentially catch up a little later as he progresses. Alexander, however, looking for a really quick back here, which is a little bit interesting because he might actually end up losing minions here. Karthus is on the scuttle, and he loses priority on the scuttle on the scuttle bot side. Actually, Dreadjoker getting caught, but they didn't realize they caught him. They didn't have vision on that silence, so not realizing they actually caught him there. And actually, the bot lane of Suicide Kings coming up to contest this, and Dreadjoker should be able to just take this for free now.
Yeah, there we go. The Brawn passive comes through, so the reduced resistances on the Scuttle Crab mean that the Dreadjoker Karthus Q is going to do a significantly larger amount of damage, and is going to be able to fully clear his jungle, I believe, and then also set back, get the bot side Scuttle Crab. Look out with this enhanced Fiendish Codex, enhanced ability power in his inventory rather more than anything else. As Sir Malcolm does a fairly similar path, does an entire clear and then gets the one crab on the other side of the map.
Yep, and just to take a look back at this mid lane matchup, Alexander went back really quickly and grabbed a second Doran's Blade. And so that's going to give him even more of this early game pressure that he was looking for. However, Princeton did the exact same thing. And so we do see a little bit of a fight going on here in the mid lane. Princeton looking for a little bit potentially more. However, Windwall blocking a lot of damage there. Some damage coming through in the bot lane as well as they go back and forth and trade back and forth. However, Vicro healing adjustment back up. Looking at about half health right now. Does obviously still have the barrier available. Princeton and Alexander going at it. Steel Tempest going through. Exhaust coming out. Ignite coming out. And that's just going to be a summoner spell trade in this instance.
Yeah, with the missed tornado right there. Unfortunately, the summoner spell does have to be expended. Slight misplay from Princeton. Slight outplay, maybe you'd say, from Alexander dodging the tornado, the knock up there. It really is such a crucial part of the Astro kit. If you manage to knock up, get the CC, then you're just going to win the trade. Sir Malcolm going in, though, he's just going to show his face. Manages to connect with one of those Qs and might actually just help out Princeton pushing this wave all the way into turret to get it to bounce back and reset.
Yeah, and one thing to note too is the timers on the summoner spells used by the mid laners. So a little bit of advantage towards Alexander, as Ignite only has an 180 seconds, so that's 3 minutes of a cooldown, whereas Exhaust has 3.5 minutes. And so Ignite will be up 30 seconds before Exhaust will. And so Alexander potentially could look for a 1v1 and have a summoner spell advantage when that comes up.
Yeah, and I've obviously now reached level 6 as well, so this is definitely an opportunity for Alexander to look for. Game number 1, we saw him with a nice outplay in a 2v1 with the Zoe, and this time around we could probably just see him out 1v1 Princeton in the mid lane, just with that summoner spell advantage that you had alluded to so perfectly. Overall, though, the rest of the map, it's still going the way of the Suicide teams here. The top lane, most notably, with a strong CS lead for Sextoy, really. The Shen definitely having his way with the Camille.
Yep, and he actually avoids the hook shot there, and actually gets a free auto attack onto it. And one thing about Shen is people always underestimate the empowered auto attack he has. Shen is actually a relatively strong laner, especially when his numbers are in a good spot, which they are right now, with those auto attack trades, right? And so Camille misses the hook shot, takes an auto attack. It's not a favorable trade, and so Sextoy really looking strong in this lane so far.
No, he is, and the Spirit's Refuge as well. The Spirit Blade more so than anything else. Princeton mid lane.
Princeton in the mid lane does get the shot on Alexander there. However, the Shen ult's coming in, and the Coley coming in, not actually finishing. However, Stand United will be blown there from Sextoy, actually potentially giving Madman a little bit of respite in this lane to catch up on CS and maybe make this bounce off the tower before they can get back in.
Yeah, and the no taunt presumably available for Sextoy as he comes on in and normally would just result in a kill. But notably, the taunt just wasn't available, so Alexander wasn't able to follow up with the damage, nor was Sextoy, obviously, without that cooldown available to him. And as you mentioned, the Madman pushes in the wave all the way into the turret. He's going to get essentially a free reset right now. Picks himself up a couple of longswords, and most notably that Sheen, which is going to help his auto attacks and help his trading patterns a lot more.
Definitely good on Princeton there. Both him and Alexander having a little flash. It's an even summoner spell trade there. However, having Stand United down literally gives the rest of the map like a chance to like breathe, right? You're just like, you know what? I don't have to worry about getting Shen ulted, at least for the next 3 minutes.
Yeah,
or whatever. I could just take a little bit of a break here.
Exactly, it's similar to Nocturne effect, right? If Nocturne's first ultimate doesn't hit the mark, doesn't have a strong impact, then you kind of think, right, okay, I can take the time out. He's level 6, but he's not got that ultimate, right? And it's the same thing for the Shen. That first Shen ult was really used super defensively to keep Alexander alive, essentially, in the mid lane. Princeton was even a level down when he went in for that trade. So getting that cooldown out of the way, just really playing to the strengths here, and shows why this counter pick in the mid lane was taken, really.
And potentially a trade going in now. Windwall falling short, however, the knockup will hit. Last breath coming through. Princeton getting Alexander real low. Alexander has no flash, however. He does not have Sweeping Blades to connect there. He will hit the knockup on Alexander, getting very low. Will the Sweeping Blades cooldown be over? It is. And the Soraka ult coming down. Ignite coming out from Alexander. Both exhausting Ignite back up there, so it really doesn't matter about the little discrepancy between the two. And finding the kill onto Alexander there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that was just an outplay in the mid lane, essentially. Princeton doing a lot of work in terms of just keeping the cooldown available, knowing that he's got that third Q prepared, making Alexander try and second guess himself. You know, it's that thing of, okay, do I juke, do I not juke, do I juke? And essentially you just juke yourself so much that the Yasuo is able to walk into range and Sweeping Blade you. And get the knock up for free, essentially. So really well played by Princeton, and the wish coming through from Vicro just to ensure that the solo kill was able to come through. But that's going to be an advantage in the mid lane for Princeton. Uses the exhaust, gets the ignite back out, but he's definitely going to be happy with a 1-for-1 on First Blood. Or 1 for nothing, rather.
Yeah, 1 for nothing. Feeling good. Still a little bit of a CS deficit here, however. And so he has a little bit of a lead, but not a huge lead. Something definitely to keep in mind is there is about a 10 CS lead for the side of Alexander. You know, once all these minions are said and done, it'll be a little bit more accurate. But definitely don't count Alexander out yet, because that was close. And Princeton actually almost dying there. Maybe would have died to the Ignite as well. We don't know for sure if the Soraka ultimate hadn't come out there. And so it was pretty close overall. However, we got a little wacky with Soraki.
Yeah, it's this game really is always going to be a game of inches, and obviously things like the Soraka ulti definitely feel like more than inches when you're playing against them. But it's things like that, you know, the fact that the Soraka is picked up and has that ability. So I might have to hold it. Madman jumps in top lane. He's got some Malcolm with him.
Yep, Hextech ultimatum coming down. So Malcolm is right there. Taunt lands onto the Madman. Madman getting very low, and it will be a 1-for-1 trade. However, Princeton was up there as well. The Requiem coming in as well, just to secure that a little bit more, maybe make it a little bit more of a favorable trade. However, it will just end up being 1-for-1.
Yeah, there was
both top laners dying.
A little bit of danger that Sextoy wouldn't have been able to pick up the kill onto the Madman, and obviously that Requiem coming through really just ensured it. That said, though, wasn't actually needed. So again, another essentially wasted cooldown. Really, no Requiem available for a good couple of minutes right now means that Unleashed, they're going to have the ability to do as they please here. And with that said, I want to, as we're looking at it, quickly showcase this bot lane because Adjustment and Vikro have actually been farming fairly evenly versus this Vayne lane, which, to all intents and purposes, probably favours the Vayne a little bit more just because the Vayne is scaling fairly safely. But at the minute, the fact that Adjustment and Vikro have got the push and they've actually reset once previously means that the item advantage is heavily in their favour right now. Full Essence Reaver versus just the Bilgewater Cutlass is definitely a favourable lane state for this Sivir, just in terms of items though. Tactics is walking forward, setting up some ground rules, some ground vision into the lane brushes here, and potentially setting up for a Karthus lane gank.
Yeah, essentially setting it up, and you can actually see Karthus moving down here. Dreadjoker coming into that pink ward, knowing full well that he is completely safe there. Definitely one thing to recognize here, though, is that when you're a Vayne versus a Sivir, Sivir can clear wave in about 2 or 3 seconds. You know, she's got her W, she's got the Boomerang Blade. She can easily just instantly clear a wave in the bot lane. Vayne is all single target auto attacks, right? And so it's been really probably relatively easy in this matchup for Adjustment and Vikro to get those backs and to get the shove a little bit more often because of that lane presence that Sivir has to just push out waves, and especially where plays are going on all around the map. However, TP coming in the bot lane from Sextoy finding it on the hunt, coming out, taunt landing onto Vikro. Vikro does have the barrier and the flash available. However, barrier goes through. Flash does not come out as he realizes he's going to die regardless there. So that will be a TP expended for a kill onto Sextoy as well. However, Dreadjoker getting caught in the Hextech ultimatum in the top side. Madman coming through. Stand United coming through just to add insult to injury in that, and that is 2 kills picked up on the side of Suicide Kings.
Yeah, and that's what we were talking about in the draft, that Unleashed just a little unaware of these cooldowns. Princeton, mid lane.
Princeton in the mid lane looking for Alexander again. He's getting very low, and Princeton will take him down with the last breath there.
Yeah, I mean, you can talk about the CS lead all you like, but the just sheer laning lead definitely going to Princeton, and Alexander burning his flash there, whilst Princeton didn't even have to. Definitely a favourable trade for him. Gets the kill in the 1 versus 1, and still has his flash, and still has his ultimate available. This could just be a reset and a rinse and repeat, really. First blood turret actually going down for the Yasuo as well. That is used because of the help from Sir Malcolm securing that first Rift Herald, giving a load of plates over to Princeton in this mid lane. And this is going to be quite telling as we toggle the gold here. There is, a 20 CS deficit because of all of the plates, because of all of the gold that Princeton has been funneled in with this Rift Herald and with the 2 kills. It's actually 1,000 gold ahead of Alexander.
Yeah, definitely looking really, really strong, even though Alexander had that early game push. You've got the completed item of Phantom Dancer on Princeton already, whereas, Alexander working towards, I'm assuming that's an Essence Reaver, is not completed.
Vikro.
However, Vikro caught out in the bot lane. Once again, Requiem coming through, adjustment very, very low, and that's a double kill for the Vayne. And that's not something you want to see if you are looking at things from the side of Omega Gaming.
No, definitely not. And that is the power of this Braum here. Obviously, Soraka is quite a squishy laner, and when there's that opportunity there to just essentially all in the Soraka for free because of how far pushed up they were, they're going to take that every single day of the week. The Requiem comes through as well just to secure it. With the slightly wasted spell shield from Adjustment, he's not going to be able to protect from that one either. 2 kills on the Vayne, who has now accruing a small CS lead. It's going to feel really nice. Definite snowball avenue, and this late game carry threat from the Vayne could come to fruition.
Yep, we've got strong entities on both sides. And actually, the gold is dead even here at 16 minutes. We're looking at, back and forth between 100 gold, but that's pretty strong. 1 dragon, however, sitting on the side of Suicide Kings. However, Omega Gaming looking to secure this Ocean Dragon, and they will. This means it will be either a Mountain Dragon or a Wind Dragon, and looks like Madman just got absolutely blown up there in the top lane under tower.
Yeah,
So
the
also something that's strong.
dive came through. Sextoy used the taunt obviously to lock him up, and Dread Joker's able to follow up, as we talked about. You know, point and click cues essentially when there's a CC'd Camille. This Camille having a bit of a torrid time so far up in the top lane, but it's to be slightly expected. And we've got a bit of a collapse coming through. Princeton and Samalcrum.
They're diving in here. However, the Skittles are coming through. He will not cast the last breath, as that would have been under tower, and that potentially would have net him killed. Alexander also in the area. They didn't have full information on where he was, and so they will just give up that chase.
Diving bot.
Adjustment at 1 HP. However, the Madman coming in does not have the Hextech Ultimatum available, and so he potentially could just get chalked here up as the concussive blows go through, and that is a double kill for Reeve with a spicy outplay under the tower. But we have a last press coming in onto Dread Joker here as he just gets, or Alexander as he just gets blown up. However, will the Lilia damage be enough to finish him off? It will not. Princeton just diving, dashing around, trying to get it what he can done here. Soraka ult's coming in. Dread Joker very, very low. That's a lot of damage from both sides. It's a 1-for-1 so far. Dread Joker forced to flash there from the Lilia. However, Sextoy kind of putting himself in a weird position here. The heals are very strong here. However, Requiem will finish the job onto Smelkrum there. And that is overall a 2-for-1 trade for the side of Suicide Kings, and they pick up the Rift Herald on top of that.
Yeah, dancing with death there was Shen and the Karthus. You know, playing on the edges of their health bars, but ultimately knowing their limits. Coming out ahead, they secure themselves the Rift Herald on top of that, so, you know, positive kill trade, positive objective trade. This Karthus as well, quietly just been racking up the kills, racking up the assists. Now got 9 stacks of Dark Seal, 4-0-1 on this Karthus, similar to the Vayne right now. And these two late game carries that we pre-mentioned in the draft are pretty much online at this point. Vayne needs maybe 1,000 more gold before that Rage Blade comes through, and the Karthus could do with one of those first penetration items. But after that, these are some serious forces to be reckoned with.
Yeah, looking real good. Princeton, however, getting a little bit aggressive. Windwall coming through, chooses to do the last breath onto 2. He finds Alexander. He's dashing back out. Sextoy coming in with the 2-man taunt onto both Vicro and Princeton. Princeton getting very low. However, another double knockup coming through from Princeton. Princeton on this Yasuo really showing up big. And that will be a 1-for-0 trade amidst all that traffic and all those summoner spells blown. Princeton coming out on top of that fight.
Yeah, once again, you know, the shining light in the mid lane for Unleashed, and becoming quite reminiscent of game number 1, where the team fights and everything are, or rather the game state itself feels like it's going towards Suicide Kings, but then just when team fights happen, Princeton shows up. You know, he's now got 100% crit on this Yasuo, has been finding the engages time and time again on the backline here. Alexander really having a really terrible time trying to face up against this Yasuo. And whilst they keep killing this Lucian, at this stage of the game, the Lucian isn't their target that they need to focus. They need to take out Reeve, who has almost completed that second item, has got a 500 gold bounty on his head, and really need to start looking at this Vayne as a damage focus, as opposed to the Lucian.
Yeah, just looking at the large bounties on the side of Suicide Kings. You got a 501 on Vayne, you got a 551 on Karthus, 150 on Shen. Those are high priority targets, high kill targets, where if you kill them, that is a huge value to your team. You think, right, Princeton could just get an Infinity Edge if he kills the right people, right? That's as simple as that, right? And he could just become this monster. And so really looking to shut down those carries will be really, really crucial for the side of Omega Gaming here.
Yeah, and it's all going to be focused around, I presume at least, this next Mountain Dragon spawning in about 40 seconds here. This is another Mountain Soul game, but this time around, it's going to be a little bit different here. Neither side having the say of neutral objectives thus far, both 1-to-1 apiece. Samalcrum being able to secure one, and then Dread Joker getting the other. The Ocean Drake, for me at least, feels slightly better as a singular dragon to secure. Scales pretty well with just being of high HP, but looking at this Drake spawning up here, Smalcom walking into his topside jungle, just feels like Suicide Kings are probably going to net this one almost for free.
Yeah, it just looks like they've got full control. They're just taking away the red buff and just saying this is our territory now. And this is 2 games in a row, and you'll love to see that emote flash from Alexander as he fails to dash over the wall. But
Fully
they will just take
respecting
this.
the failure.
Yeah, and they're just going to take this one absolutely free of charge. That is 2 Drakes to 1 now with the Mountain Soul on the horizon here.
And if I'm looking at this from an Unleashed perspective, you know, the way that they're going to win as we get later into this game is through that split push that we talked about earlier on. The Camille in a side lane and the Yasuo in the side lane. The Yasuo being able to deal with the Lucian and the Camille being able to deal with the Shen. But so far, the Shen has really had the run of the lane, and still, even as we reach, you know, level 13, level 14, Rage Blade completed on the Vayne though. This could be a Baron. Karthus does this incredibly quickly, as does a Vayne. And with Unleashed nearby, this could be fairly risky.
Yeah, Baron's sitting at about half health right now. Sextoy zoning out the rest of the
This is
team.
gone.
It's gone. It's gone. That's a free Baron to the side of Suicide Kings. And great play to recognize, hey, you know what? Camille's on the bot side of the map. And dying on the bot side of the map as Alexander picks up his first kill of the game. Assisted by, of course, Sextoy with the Stand United.
Yeah, and that's the second time that we've caught the Stand United catching out Madman. You know, his own laner coming to gank him essentially means that he's going to fall there in the side lane, and now Princeton might struggle.
Oh, diving in with the double flash sweep onto Reeve. Reeve getting very low. Last breath coming through onto Reeve. Reeve 1 HP. However, Reeve does take down Princeton, and Vicro is very low here. Barrier coming through. Will he be able to survive this? He will for now. Malcolm with a great sleep. However, last breath not coming through initially onto the Vayne. They can't just immediately blow her up. And so a great attempt at a play to shut down this Vayne, but this Vayne is just too strong. And for that, all those efforts exhausted on the top side, they're going to lose an inhibitor in the bot lane.
Yeah, they don't even get the kill on the Vayne essentially in the top side. The double summoner expenditure from Reeve there keeps himself safe just about. I mean, I say safe, he was blinking health bar at one point. Princeton expending all that he could. Adjustment though, he gets focused.
Definitely getting focused, flashes out, spell shields, Brahm's Frostbite there, and just able to walk away. Free summoner spell trade. So Malcolm looking for a little bit more here. Does hit the E onto him, however, sleep is not available for another few seconds here. And Reeve will just walk away from this one. Sextoy kind of zoning him out. Man, Sextoy is just everywhere. He's bot, he's top, he's on Baron, he's not on Baron, he's killing someone bot lane. This guy is all over the map tonight.
Yeah, I mean, the Shen pick here is really just dominating this game here. A couple times it's caught out the Camille, and numerous times it's caught out the rest of Unleashed with just the power that he has with the global presence, the ability to TP to one side of the map and then Stand United to the other. Something that Unleashed haven't been quite keeping track of here, and with all of this going on, it's important to note that 2 items has now been established on every member of the Suicide Kings here. Obviously save for the Braum, who you don't really need to worry about. But Lucian's completed that Infinity Edge. This Lucian who was, you know, 0-4, having a torrid time in the lane, finally manages to find something. Madman might be going for Dread Joker here though, but does he know that Lucian's nearby?
I don't think he knows, but I don't think he wants to risk it. So he's just going to say, have a nice day. I'll see you later. Alexander just kind of playing a little bit of shadow macro there, following Dread Joker, just to see if there was anybody looking for a potential engage. And obviously Madman choosing to not engage in that situation because you got no eyes on the Lucian, you got no eyes on the Shen, you got to Stand United that could potentially shut you down here. And Dread Joker just going to recall here as these minions push towards the bot lane.
For sure, and I mean, look at, I missed it off the first time, but he's just recalled, picked up an entire Rabadon's Death Cap right now, has the most farm in the game here, nearly 10 CS per minute, and this is going to be an ulti onto the Lucian.
Yeah, that's an ulti for an ulti. That's Stand United cast from Sextoy. And I believe Omega Gaming's going to take that as a win, as Stand United is now on cooldown for another, almost 3 minutes. So that's pretty strong for them to potentially look for a pick at this point. You can look to fight. Dread Joker moving up towards Simulacrum, and he has a 4-level advantage here. However, adjustment in the area. Dread Joker flashing, getting the blue buff. However, he will pay for this with his life. And adjustment, getting that shutdown gold is really, really valuable. And he casts the Requiem, and that did a lot of damage to Vicro. Look at how low Vicro is.
I mean, yeah, the Requiem on top of the fact that Vicar is just healing everybody up. Look at Alexander though, and Reeve.
Alexander's behind. Reeves right there as well. Madman's right there, looking to get on top of him. Shen TPing in. Vicro getting really low, getting flash taunted on. Reeve is dominating, just absolutely cleaning up this team. Princeton, however, is looking potentially for the three-man last breath. He does hit it. Alexander getting really low. However, that last breath was maybe one you shouldn't have taken, as he will pay for it with the ace. And there is quite a long 20-second death timers on Vicro of all people. And so they might even just look to end here through bot lane. They've got a minion wave. This could be GG.
Yeah, I mean, Sextoid pushed this wave in a long time ago, setting up for this potential play. Now with the one team fight here, looks like we're going to a game 3 meme. Vicro, the only person to spawn adjustment up in 7 seconds, but it's not going to be enough.
It's not going to be enough as the second Nexus turret goes down, and the Nexus is soon to follow. Taunt onto Vicro. Vicro dropping as well. And that is the win for Suicide Kings.
Yeah, they're going to take us to the game 3. That fabled silver scrapes here. Gonna have to see if Omega Gaming Unleashed are able to, hold their nerve as we move into the series. But that jungle level lead, once again though, this time around, you can see how each team wants to play this this series outright. So Malcolm happy to give up his resources and allow Adjustment Princeton to farm up and get their leads that way. Dread Joker, the complete opposite. Look at this Karthus with the farming differential. The most farm in the game, the most gold, I believe, as well. I mean, just behind Reeve, who had maybe 40 or so more, but it's so so obvious where all the power is in this team. Just can't wait to keep going.
You just look at Dread Joker being up 4 levels on Simulcrum, almost 100 farm ahead. He almost flame horizoned him as a jungler. That's bonkers. And especially you're talking about Lilia, who is one of the strongest, fastest clearers in the meta right now. Just getting absolutely dominated by Dread Joker this game. Just really, really showing up huge on this Karthus pick that we were a little bit iffy about. But man, did he come to play tonight.
He really did. And with that, we're going to take a short break here as we get ourselves loaded up, get ready for game number 3 here. Shouldn't be too long, guys, so don't touch that browser. This is the final game of the series. Regardless of the outcome here, this is going to be the do or die game coming up for you in just a little moment here. Don't go anywhere. Don't touch that browser. We're going to be right back.